Hello.
Ho, ho, ho.
Good evening, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Have a cool Yule. And all those fun blessings, guys.
Yeah. Oh, so
Hi,
let us know
Deborah.
you're here.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
Deborah. How are you?
Glad to see you out here, Sweet Pea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're letting
getting
in.
queued up here, waiting for people to come on because sometimes it takes a few minutes, but I'll go ahead and mention, and we can mention it again later if we need to. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube on Wednesdays at 9:30. And you can subscribe, like, follow us there or on iTunes or Spotify. I'm still behind in getting those things, the past shows up, but I'm going to get it done before the end of the year. I'm going to get it done. I'm determined. I'm speaking it into being, as we were just talking about. So, hopefully everything's going on YouTube. I was going to double check. Because I had a glitch a minute ago. Is it going? I can't tell. So,
Technical difficulties are widespread. You and I have talked about that off and on over the past few weeks and tonight.
yes.
Technology for most everybody. Can I get an amen out in the chat room? Over there.
You can get one here.
Yeah, I'm hearing everywhere from everyday stuff like appliances doing weird stuff that makes no sense, all the way to, computer and internet glitches and cell phone glitches are every freaking where, all the way out to assumed ET extraterrestrial technology is coming on strong and being really weird. Not that it was ordinary in the first place, but what I'm saying is the whole spectrum of what we understand as technology is being really strange lately.
Yeah, and why is that? I mean, we might know that it's happening, but why is it doing that?
That is a good question. My intuitive thought as well as intellectual thought is because the intellectual and spiritual and collective vibration, the geological vibration of the earth itself, the vibes generated by the human body, by trees, by animals, by politics, by societies. The Schumann resonance is a typical expression or measurement of that, is so powerful right now. And not all of it is in sync right now. Not all of it is in synchronization right now, that it's really hard for technologies that rely on continuity to drop off and come back in, or come in too strong and suddenly dive down and then come back to stasis. All right. So basically, the same reason the Schumann resonance can predict when the collective human emotions, collective human energies go way high. One example would be 9/11. Okay, all around the world, people reacted strongly to that. Schumann resonance, and there are Schumann resonance groups that actually watch the daily, hourly Schumann resonance readouts. You can actually see them and go. And when stuff happens, if you go, you can see peaks, and it all turns white instead of the normal green. All kinds of cool stuff. But a lot of that waffling, I think, is what's throwing off all other technologies, because technology is already naturally plugged into the concept of unity and everything reacting as one. But yeah. electromagnetism, the sun. There's supposed to be sunspots going.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the sun doesn't actually make that noise, but technically is about as close as I can get.
Oh, I am looking for our event on Facebook, and I am not.
I found it. I found it on YouTube.
Yeah, but I don't know why it's not on Facebook. So, what I will do, I want to be, I want to be me. I can't find, ugh, no, exit. Yeah. Okay.
I wonder if I was messing around in there if I messed up something.
No, I don't know how you
Well,
could.
not on purpose, but I wonder if I did something that I don't know what I was doing.
If
I
you
was
want
trying to share. Oh,
ah,
our banner says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video.
that's the video that you have up there that sometimes it doesn't play right, but it was playing for me. So, again, and what I will do.
Yep, people are telling me they can't get it off of Facebook. They're struggling.
I've got to find the YouTube link and I'll send it. So, Deborah, be patient with us. Anybody else that is
watching
with us,
patience.
Yes, we'll try. We want to get everybody on board and
spread that out just a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. I posted the link on
the page.
Yes, it's coming up there. So to go to YouTube. I don't know why it did that, but it was funky because it did something when we were starting. It was like when I started it, it was like your program time has expired. I'm like, what? And I don't know why, but I don't know why it's and then you hit one button wrong and it does something crazy.
It does something else it ain't supposed to, right?
Yes. So, all right. But let's move along because we're eating our time and don't want to take up the few people that are here. We greatly appreciate you. Yes. We always enjoy the people who return to us every week, and we welcome new people. Please do comment and join in the conversation, ask questions, make comments, anything like that. The comments are over there. I can't. Yeah, over there. I just need to do it right-handed and then I'll know. Yeah. We tonight's program is about paganism and Christianity and other related solstice, all of those things that are kind of related, and how a lot of our traditions for Christmas have come from other historic sources. And we're not here to criticize pagans, right, and we're not here to criticize Christians.
Right.
We just find it interesting and even somewhat comical how the things go together. And it's like the things that happen that people will say at Christmas time that you go, if you knew what that meant.
Yeah, sometimes devout religious people have no idea.
Yes.
They speak like certain Christians, they do speak against Christianity.
Yeah.
And they hold up a symbol that is 100% pagan.
Yeah.
Such as a Christmas tree or Santa Claus.
Right. And don't
they don't know the irony.
Also don't want to, because a lot of people are afraid of pagans. They think, oh, they worship the devil, oh, they're evil. And that's just poppycock. And right. It's an appreciation of nature. And
the old ways.
Yeah. And it's people always, if they don't understand it, it's the devil. It's got the devil in it.
They fear it. What they don't understand, they fear.
Yeah.
And
So
that's something we have, as humans in general, we have got to relearn that. A friend of ours re-quoted something I said last week. She said, just because I don't understand you is not a good enough reason to kill you.
yes.
And that's a lot of words but they mean the same thing. Just because we don't understand something doesn't mean you're supposed to kibosh it.
Right. Right.
And it's an old habit.
And I want to show this because I saw this on Facebook today. There is I laughed. It was the group is just where people are supposed to post pictures that they see that, let's post happy stuff and all this. And then I was like, oh, that's a cute picture. And then I realized all the symbolism. You've got the little Buddha there praying.
Yeah.
Then you've got, I don't know, is it the Pillsbury Doughboy?
I think he's a gingerbread cookie.
Okay, because it looks like he's got a hat on too.
That's
But
true.
He's holding a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Which is pagan.
Yeah.
And the gingerbread also comes back from ancient long ago. If it's gingerbread or if it's Pillsbury Doughboy, God only knows.
Modern Christmas, yeah.
And then you got the candy cane in the background, which is ho ho ho, Randy. Then you've got the candy cane that I'm glad you found your thing, Margot. The description of the
bastardization of candy into a religious symbolism that is macabre and bloody as literally as hell.
Yeah.
Holy I read that and I was like, really? A sweet little old lady gave it to me. It begins with pure white for the virgin birth, pardon pure. What? Letter
Yeah.
J. That's a stretch. Like a shepherd's staff, that's still a stretch. But here, the fourth paragraph. To remember the awful price of Jesus, read to tell the blood he shed, stripes to show his scourgings, and a large red stripe for his blood shed on the cross by nails and spear. Made to help us remember the costly love of Jesus. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, whoa, Iris, take that off the screen.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You teach your children that mutilating and bloodshedding and scourging and nails and torture and murder.
Here, kids, have a candy cane.
Yeah. Here's your candy cane so you can always remember.
Here, suck on the blood of Jesus.
Suck on the blood of Jesus. It's in a J shape too.
J is for Jesus, so pure and white. Look at his blood from the ground is bright.
Horrible. Let's just qualify it a little bit.
Well, and it was like, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 years ago, it smacked me in the head. I'm like, why do Christians, and I say that as a quasi-Christian myself. I've been there. Let me put it that way.
You celebrate Christ. You're not a traditional Christian. Yeah.
Yes.
Same here.
Why do they hang around their necks or use earrings or whatever crosses? That is a symbol of torture.
It's a torture and execution device, and that's all it is.
I'm going to hang around my neck.
Yeah, they're reinforcing Jesus suffered, so you better behave, is what they're trying to reinforce. When I celebrate Christianity in written form or whatever, I use the fish symbol.
Yeah.
The simplified fish, the incomplete infinity symbol.
Of course, I like the fish symbol with the feet, the Darwin.
My brother had that on his car. The fish that had the word Jesus crammed in it. He had the fish with the feet with the word Darwin crammed in it.
Yes, I've got one of those.
And he got flack for it too in different states. It was interesting.
I don't have it on my car. I just got it for
your own
entertainment. Yes.
Yeah, we live in the South. That might be dangerous. So,
but
coexist, baby, coexist. But yeah, the a candy cane went down a really dark hole.
And who came up with that? I mean, the fact that somebody said, because it can't be true.
No, it's not. The candy cane was invented a long time ago when candy was made more and more popular for this particular holiday, which is candy became a part of this way back hundreds and hundreds of years ago in that pagan tradition. But as candy became a part of decorating the trees, that used to be, nuts and fruits and apples and berries, and a little bit of candle eventually came later. And we'll talk more about, the apple part of that. But as candy became more a part of that tradition, candy makers turned it into a hook to make it hangable on the branch. It's by association that it became the letter J. So
shepherds too.
Reaching a little bit. That's evidence of people reaching.
I bet the little drummer boy used them for drumming the.
I bet somebody could flip them around and use it for drums. Use them for a pacifier. We are being sacrilegious at this point.
Yeah, really. One of my favorite cartoons is a manger scene.
Yeah.
And the camel's got a bubble above his head, and it says, "Hey, Mary, guess what day it is?" Shut up, camel.
That's referring to an oldie but goodie.
And have you ever seen the Mr. Bean? You know Mr. Bean?
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, look up the one where he's Christmas shopping.
Oh.
He invades. They have this beautiful manger scene set up, and he's looking at it, and he ends up bringing in like a tank. He's like, and well, first of all, it's sheep, and they're going by, and he's and then it's like he brings the shepherd's man going, shh, shh, and it goes on and on till he's got a helicopter coming in for him.
Mr. Bean's awesome. British humor, terrific.
Yes.
We've got two more newbie people joining us. Carrie Root. Hi, Carrie.
Yeah.
And Liz is back again too. Hi, ladies. Namaste.
Liz, did you see the part about the candy canes that we just talked about? Yeah.
Liz, did you hear the whole thing that we guffawed over and snorted about? Candy cane. We're revisiting that for some reason.
Yeah, I know. But moving on, we've got other things that we want to talk about. So
tons of Christian traditions that can be rerouted.
Yeah. And just to read, I want to read a little bit about to give a background, a foundation.
Yeah.
There was first of all, you've got the winter solstice. And that's December 21st, just like the summer solstice is the longest day of the year. The 21st of December is the shortest day of the year. And that's scientific. There's nothing woo-woo about it. It just is. Okay, so around that, about 500 BC, before Christ, they start, and they think maybe even longer than that, True. Saturnalia was celebrated, and that was a holiday for ancient Romans, and it was named for the god Saturn. They had feasts, lots of food. They gave gifts, and they had a brief sense of equality because the masters and the servants switched places.
Which places?
And so it was a way of honoring those that serve and all that. So
By the way, there was cross-dressing, and men and women switched roles as well in almost every area of life. Y'all have fun thinking about that.
So then fast forward, in Jesus's birthday wasn't initially a holiday because
they didn't know.
Jewish cultures didn't celebrate birthdays.
Right.
And
Jewish.
Right. And so a few centuries later, the church leaders added it to the calendar, or wanted to add it to the calendar, but they had to pick a day. So what happened was in 275 AD, so this is almost 1,000 years after where they've been practicing Saturnalia, an emperor in Rome consecrated the temple of Sol Invictus, creating a holiday called Birthday of the Sun, SUN. And so that was on December 25th. And then
keep in mind December 25th before before science and astrology got taken off. December 25 was the first day after the 21st that with the human eye you could see a difference in the sun coming back.
I gotcha.
So for a long time they thought solstice was on the 25th because that was the first time that the human eye from the surface of the earth could see a difference in the time of when the sun broke the horizon.
Good point.
There is a 3-day lag, which we know because the sun actually has its own evolutionary path, not evolutionary, revolutionary path, revolving path.
Yeah.
And the slowest, shortest day, it takes it 3 days to go through the bottom of the turn before it starts going up towards the longest days. And the days get short again, and it's 3 days of longest and 3 days of shortest, 21 to 25 in this case.
And then in 350 AD, the Pope Julius officially declared December 25th as the birthday of Christ. But we know that, like the scripture says, shepherds watched their flocks by night. They watched their flocks during lambing season, which would be in the springtime.
Right.
So in Rome in the 4th century, they had 3 big holidays going on. They had Saturnalia still going on. Then they had this Dies Natalis Sol Invictus.
Latin thingy, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had the Dies Natalis of the Christ, which was so you had all this cross-pollination going on because they were celebrating 3 different holidays basically at the same time. As Christians moved north from Rome, then you started getting influx from other cultures.
The German, Bavarian, the Nordic, and the Swedish. Yeah.
And then and the Festival of Lights was welcoming back the sun because, they did it during the darkest time of the year. And they'd have lights or candles or, they didn't have electricity. You couldn't plug in a lamp. But
trying to invite the sun to come back.
Yes. And so evergreens show that life endures.
Life endures.
And so that's why they honored the evergreens. Saw a cartoon. I didn't bother putting it in the stream, but all these leafy trees are standing around, and one of them says, "Let's get naked," and they all drop their leaves. And then it's like, Douglas, what's going on with you?
Killjoy.
You got all these naked
friends are not going to conform.
So, yeah, you got it. The evergreens, they honored those.
they honored all trees in general,
Yeah.
which kind of rolls you towards, no pun intended, the Yule log.
Yes, and okay, so
Everything attached to
Yule
that
log, some
craziness.
people might be familiar with the bakery type thing. I made one of those one year. And noticed it was just 1 year because I wasn't going to keep doing it. I saw this one, this poor little one. I don't know what's going on there. It just,
Something that got pooped and got sad. Looked like a defeated Muppet a pooped Muppet puppet.
but typically this is more of what you saw when they were getting the Yule log. They'd go and find this huge tree, and
As a community, they would go get it.
for at least, well, some wanted it to burn for 12 days, 12 days of Christmas kind of deal.
Yeah.
But tell the story you were telling me, Margot.
What the story I learned about the Yule log was, as a community, the village would go into the woods and find the biggest tree they could to chop down, and everyone would haul it back, which is what you're seeing in this drawing right here, to the center of town. And they would cut out the trunk, the biggest piece of the trunk that they could, to burn for days and days. And the tradition is, for those, however long the log burned, they could party. And I do mean debauchery left and right. This includes the role reversal of cross-dressing and transgender, and Bacchus and food and wine and sex, and social laws and criminal laws were temporarily on hold. We're talking all out chaos, happy chaos. A lot of drinking. Drinking is a very, very, very important part of this holiday for hundreds of years.
It still is, because we have to endure our families.
We're maintaining that. But as long as your Yule log burned, and yes, there is euphemisms in here.
Yule also was Jule, was a god.
Yeah.
In some areas, and god of fertility.
Yeah, in Latin.
So it was a phallic symbol,
people. As long as you got your Yule log burning, as long as that baby was burning, you could do the whole town could do all the debauchery it wanted with no repercussions. So, of course, they wanted to keep the Yule in Yuletide.
Woohoo!
Yule, which is also known as Odin, and his 8-legged horse, and the wolves. You see, we didn't get to talk about that. Wolves are a part of the Christmas celebration. See the dogs behind him and below him?
Yeah.
They were the predecessors to the Krampus. They went out there when Odin found a bad person or a bad child or a bad evil spirit or somebody who did wrong. The wolves were the ones that actually went down and did the biting and killing. Odin told them what to do, and Odin could hit you with his whip or his stick. But if he really wanted to kill you, he sent his demon dogs to hunt you down in a pack, and there was no way you're going to get away. So, but that was the origin of the Krampus. Krampus eventually took over the role of taking care of the bad kids, and Santa was the personality split, basically. Odin became
Are you a good Santa or a bad Santa? Oh.
I'm sure you can hear that at SantaCons. Are you a good Santa or a bad Santa? And I've seen Black Santa outfits. They're pretty cool. Krampus is a pretty creepy concept, though.
Yeah.
Which you can look into very easily nowadays.
Krampus a lot of times is depicted with horns.
He's very demonic looking. Yeah.
Goat horns.
Goat horns.
Also.
And yeah, fangs.
Goats were associated with this at one point.
He has hooves, right?
Yeah.
He's very demonic looking and goat looking, and a little bit of dog with the snout and teeth.
Yeah.
But Krampus is also depicted as a humanoid who has demonic features, which I think you said you saw a movie where a guy became Krampus for just 12 hours once a year.
Well, there's a Krampus movie But then I saw Grimm, which is based on the fairy tales, but it's
which were horror stories too. Yeah.
yeah, and this guy is in modern day. He can see beings that nobody else can see. And this one guy, yeah, he would turn into Krampus, but he didn't remember it. He'd black out, and
Self-defense, I'm sure. That makes sense.
yeah, so yeah, crazy stuff.
Almost all interpretations of Santa Claus are based mostly on Saturn or Odin, which are actually parallel deities in two different cultures. One's Greek and one's Nordic.
Which is interesting because those countries are so far apart that they would have such similar. So it just makes you go, hmm.
I was going to say,
Well,
you want to go down that road, honey? Look how similar North American Indians are to Asians. Their music, their percussion. If you listen to their language without looking at it, listen to one person talk Navajo and listen to another person talking like Mandarin, it sounds nearly identical. But we'll just talk about that another time. But yeah,
add that to my list of.
you travel far and wide. They're finding evidence of Nordic people coming to North America hundreds of years before Columbus did, and even hundreds of years before Eric the Red did.
Yeah.
So it's possible humans were much more mobile than first supposed. But it's interesting that they influence each other so much. So it kind of makes you wonder, what was Saturn and what was Odin? Were these actually spiritual beings? Or were they highly mobile creatures that were aware of a much more naive population on another planet? We just lay that one at your feet, folks. What are God?
Maybe it wasn't horns. Maybe it was antenna. I don't know.
Horns back here. These are antennas.
Yeah.
I have my head on top of my horns. But there's some universality. These both Saturnalia and Odin rode across the sky at night, punishing evil and rewarding the good. Let's see, Odin had a horse with 8 legs on it. Children left carrots and hay outside at night for his horse and then for food for his sacred animal. And Odin would leave treats for kids who did that. What else you got? There's so much more. That's what comes to my mind. What else? And there's even more.
Yeah.
Santa Claus.
Well, for one thing, let's see. We got okay, sacrifice offerings were set out for the spirits. The king and queen of the underworld were out for the wild hunt. This is in Scandinavian and Germany.
Yeah.
The wild hunt was where they were looking for beings from the spirit realm. And so people were afraid that they would get picked up instead, And so, and these hunts happened on the longest nights of the year.
Right.
So again, they would
stay inside. Yeah.
Stay inside and that sort of thing.
There's a crossover between Halloween traditions and that part of the Christmas tradition. I don't know if you noticed that. There's a lot of going door to door.
Yeah.
Hitting up people for food and treats and wine while you're in costume. Also, the tradition that's even older that you just said about there's evil things flying around and you should stay inside because it's the most evil night of the year. These are all characterizations of Halloween and Samhain. Yeah, Samhain.
And some people saw it as the birth of the sun, that it was this, Yeah. Thor was in there somewhere. I had him. I gotta remember. This is where the goats come in because he was seen. Thor had 2 goats, and he would sacrifice them every night and have dinner, and then they resurrect them the next day. And so during
Party
this
ghost.
time, I realized, hey, he was recycling. I don't know. Reduce,
Do
reuse,
what
recycle.
works. Do what works. Yeah.
Yeah. And so people would sacrifice goats
Yeah.
in his honor.
In honor of that.
Yeah. And, or
They would spread the blood on themselves. They would spray the blood on themselves.
right.
Which now you're talking about the traditions that come with communion in the modern eras. Taking communion of sacrificial blood and flesh. That goes into that goes into the communions you see in Christianity now.
Well, I never really get that either. This is the, I mean, even when Jesus supposedly said it at the last time, really? Did you really?
I know that's a defining characteristic between the denominations about how real or actual or symbolic the wine and bread actually is. That's the difference between Methodist and Baptist and Wesleyan and Church of England and Catholic and Greek Orthodox and Jewish. And well, I don't think Jewish do communion.
No.
Do Jewish do communion? I don't think they do. I think they do the weekly challah bread and stuff like that instead. They bless the wine and bread, but not for consecration like that. Not for communion like that. But you can see there's tie-ins for that too. They splattered themselves with blood and they drank the animal's blood and then ate the animal for 12 days.
Woohoo! Good time was had by all. And
the Yule Log was burning, so everything was on the nothing was off the table. Everything was possible.
Also, the winter solstice is under the zodiac sign of Capricorn, which is the goat.
The goat. It also has a fish tail, which is could be another tie-in to the Jesus age.
What I found was interesting in some of my research, I found that some Yule logs, they said they've got to be made out of oak, and other Yule logs, I think it was ash was the other. I don't know if it was just because of where they were at the time.
I would think that different cultures, different geographies would evolve different belief systems. I mean, certain communities think it has to be a certain type of bread to commune with, or a certain type of wine to commune with, or that you can't use wine, you can only use grape juice because alcohol is a no-no. So all wood is sacred.
And then when you're talking about Yule log, that's the biggest wood of all.
I am 53. I am too old for this shit.
How much wood do you have? Woo!
It comes back around no matter what I do. Hey, Amy, I'm glad you jumped in right now. I'm so glad you're cool, Amy.
Oh God. But
all right, so let's go down the checklist. What else can we poke fun of about history?
Reeds. Reeds came from because evergreen and pine was considered a good luck, those kinds of things. And the wheel was the circle of life. Yeah, and the fall of the sun and the return of the sun. Randy enjoys our comments. I can tell. Thank you very much. Yes, we are entertaining him.
Randy's on board.
Then there was God. Speaking of gods, they had the Holly King that ruled over midsummer to Yule, and then so he was god of the waning year. And then at Yule, he surrendered to the young Oak King, which I think that's the tradition where they had to have
the Yule Log thing came from.
Yeah. And then his twin, he and his twin resided over Yule to midsummer.
He has a twin.
Yeah, twins. So I don't know why.
Another level of intrigue there and switch
Yeah.
on.
All right. Couldn't find a whole lot on that. So evergreens were the life that endures. Apples were used on trees, and they became ornaments. So,
And that was part of the transition from that Christian leaders at the time plugged into. Because trees are so important to pagans all the way around, all year round. They're symbolic of a lot of things that are important to them, as well as the tree is sacred itself. Christians plugged into what the pagans were already doing. They let the apples be, they renamed the apples to be symbolic of the Adam and Eve debacle with the tree of life. And now we do red balls, which Randy already pointed out.
Yeah.
Ornaments are balls.
Yes.
Randy, you are right on cue. Amy gets it too. See it.
Mistletoe that goes way back. It was started by the Druids, and they believed that it had powerful healing properties.
Yeah.
And
also fertility.
Because it lived between the two worlds of the sky and the earth. Because mistletoe grows up high in trees.
Really high in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. White berries on the mistletoe represent fertility because of semen.
They look like drops of semen, much like we call it pearl necklace.
Yeah. If you didn't know that, you just learned something else new too. And then
representative semen. Mistletoe was used for remedies for infertility as well. So it was considered a fertility thing. So you were
Amy
saying?
says it's a fungus. I hope she's talking about mistletoe and not. Get your fungus away from me.
I heard that was a fungus. Get it away from me.
Is that an STD?
It's a new STD.
And then holly. No, I'm sorry. That was mistletoe. Then holly had spikes to repel unwanted spirits.
Yep.
Newborn babies used to be sprinkled with holly water. And it's sacred to, I don't know if it's pronounced a little different, Halle or Holle, who was a god, or underworld goddess, and symbolizes everlasting life, goodwill, potent life, and energy. So Holly represents this goddess, and the red berries on Holly represent feminine blood. So together, mistletoe and holly represent sacred marriage, fertility, that sort of thing.
Okay, feminine blood would be either the menses, menstruation, or if it's talking about marriage, you're talking about breaking the hymen and women bleeding for the first time, when they first have sex. So that would be the feminine blood versus blood of Jesus. Yeah.
And so that was another rebirth of the sun and that sort of thing. And people, when they would see each other in the forest, the Druids, when they were going around, they would show a sign of peace with the mistletoe. So if you saw somebody going through, they would hold up the mistletoe and you'd let them, okay.
Peace and good fortune. Yeah.
And then people started hanging it over their doorways as a symbol of peaceful home. So that's why we have it, and then you got this fertility symbol hanging there. Well, hey, baby, start getting a kiss.
So, it's a segue to start kissing somebody, right?
Yeah. So, and I gotta show this because I thought this was so funny. It's
what is that?
Actually, it came from. There is a website where you can get, the fire burning fireplaces.
Yeah.
And this one is Jesus with a glass of wine and his dog. And you can actually get that to play on your television.
What do Jesus and the dog do anything, or they just hang out at?
It's like the fire will be crackling in the background and they're just sitting there, evidently. I didn't go that deep into it, but they had other ones. Like you got one with
So the presence of Jesus is sitting there in your living room on your television, along with the fireplace on your television. And you just have the presence of Jesus and his dog.
Yeah.
His Yule dog with his Yule log with the G-Zog. There's a dog.
How are you all doing, Jesus?
What's up, blood?
Yeah.
You haven't heard somebody say that to Jesus yet? What else are you gonna say to him? No, but that's not quite it. But it's definitely all about the blood.
Oh, I have so many bad jokes. There
is. There's just full of bad jokes that we're just, believe it or not, we really are bypassing them.
I loved though. Here's a good one.
What? Hippie Jesus.
Lily Tomlin. Some people might remember Lily Tomlin from years ago. She had a character that she do called Edith Ann.
Yes, Ann. Giant rocking chair.
And she goes, and she said in one of her routines,
she was a little girl. Yeah.
Yes. And she said, I think Jesus has a halo and he uses it as a nightlight so he can read comic books in bed.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. Of course he did.
Yes. So, yeah, I always think about that when I think about Jesus and the halo and the
halo. I kind of like that idea. Giving food for thought someday when all of ours are glowing again.
Yes, exactly. So, let's see. Okay, did that the evergreens? I'm trying to make sure I've skipped anything.
That's all right. Randy says that's a hippie Jesus, and Amy, I think Amy named the dog ironically Spot. Randy said bad jokes are good.
Oh,
I noticed he didn't say are in good taste. I noticed he left that word off.
Dog, and dog spelled backwards is
God.
And you can have Jesus and God in the song.
Jesus and God and what? Iris, you're a genius, honey. Awesome, Dad. For all the deaf people.
Oh,
sign language. Yes, you do. You've got the Earth God and the Jesus and the Yule Log. Man, you've got all the major modern Western religions right there in one photo, in one video. Genius. You ought to write to the creators and say, I see you. I know what you did. I know what you did.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. All right. So what you got next for us?
So bringing it up to more modern times, well,
Yes.
somewhat, the Puritans, when they were in England, they didn't like celebrating Christmas. And yes, Randy, I believe you're right. God is a comic. He has a good sense of humor. And I say he as a loose term.
Neutral, yeah. In our generation, he is a neutral verb or noun.
But they didn't like the Christmas celebrations because they thought that it was sacrilegious, basically, and that you shouldn't be feasting and partying and doing all this stuff.
And not celebrating God per se.
Right. And so
anything that was a distraction from honoring God.
And so when they came to the New World, one of the first things they did was like build one of their first structures. Instead of celebrating Christmas on Christmas Day, they were building and toiling away just to kind of thumbing their nose up. And they kept whining about it, basically. And the Christmas observance was outlawed in Boston in 1659, but the ban was revoked in 1681 So that was roughly 22 years later by an English appointed governor. But it wasn't until the mid 19th century that celebrating Christmas became fashionable in the Boston region.
Mhm.
By by the time the Declaration of Independence in 1776, it wasn't a widely celebrated holiday, um, and Christmas was not proclaimed a holiday by U.S. Congress until 1870.
1870, that means it's only been about 150 years
That we've really
that we
recognized it and
recognize
celebrate
Christmas
it like we do.
like we do. This, the way we which is our point for the whole show, the way we celebrate Christmas now is actually quite new in the fact that the whole concept started over a thousand, no, over, sorry, before Jesus, about 3,000 years ago.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah,
and the Christians were trying to convert the pagans. So
right.
one way of doing that was, well,
Adopt.
yeah, we'll take on what you do and we'll call it our own, and then you can keep doing what you do, but now you're doing it for Jesus.
I like your word for it, cross pollinating.
Yes, yes.
That phrase.
Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to mention, because we were talking about Santa and Krampus earlier, there were different. Santa was like all over the place as far as before. He was wearing a tan jacket, then he was wearing a red jacket. He was with a goat, he was with reindeer, he was thin,
Or
he was heavy.
in
And
Europe, he was a witch. In
yeah,
another one, he was a saint. Another one, he was just a fat daddy. You said some of them had him haggard and thin as well. He wasn't
yeah,
always fat, right?
right. And so, um, what got him more popularized was Coca-Cola commissioned an artist to draw Santa in 1931.
For their
And the
advertising.
artist, yeah, for
Yeah.
advertising purposes. And the artist used the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" for the
Oh,
concept. You
okay.
know,
That
where
was his inspiration.
a droll chin and a
Don't
cheek.
let your belly full of jelly or something like
Yeah,
that.
and
Like roses and
so
nose like a cherry, right?
so
Yeah.
after Coca-Cola released that, he became very popular,
Okay.
and that's the one that most
You know
people
now.
use. Yes. And
This is my artwork I made. This is a gourd.
Isn't he gorgeous?
He's gorgeous. Ha ha ha. I made him like back in 06, 07, 08. Let me see if I can
Oh,
get his face straight for you. But
yeah. No, he
this
did
is
a good job
actually,
on the ears too. I like
oh,
that.
thank you. Yeah, like she's admiring his ears. That's so cute.
But ears are tough. That's why,
They are. They are. Noses are tough, but for some reason his nose came out really well. And his that's puff paint for his little beard. Pinch and
oh,
fuzzy. That's actually a gourd.
that is
Someday I'll stick a little pom
gorgeous.
pom, but I kind of like it. But
Yes.
I have a whole series of gourds that I've painted into Buddha type beings, and this is Santa Buddha. There was a Native American shaman Buddha, a Jesus Buddha, a Magdalene Buddha. Of course, I've done Gautama Buddha as well as the Laughing Buddha and the Gold Buddha. I also did a Bubba Buddha.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so he's downstairs. David took a shine to that when we were dating. So Bubba Buddha and Santa Buddha are with me, and other people have bought the other sculptures I made years ago. I have,
How
I have a
cool.
photograph of them all together. I'll share that with you sometime. Oh,
Yeah.
this little guy sits in the decorations, so he comes out once a year.
He's adorable.
Thank
And
you.
I should, speaking of that, you showed me this earlier.
Yes. Oh my for the holidays. Oh, holidays.
Santa meditating with the sun behind him.
Absolutely, the star.
Yeah,
I wonder
yeah.
how many rays there are if you count them. Might be 12, might be 13. No, there's more than that. There's
Yeah,
more than that. But I call that Zen Buddha. Guys, Zen Santa. I call that Zen Santa.
Buddha, Santa, they're
Same
all jolly.
thing as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Um,
A lot
yeah.
of interpretations about what the real purpose of Santa Claus was, which we also talked about off camera.
Oh,
Relative to the children population. Yeah.
well, go ahead. You went there, bring it up.
Just a little bit. There's a couple of different ways. There's some off mainstream interpretations about what Santa Claus is. And to avoid being banned from YouTube or Facebook, I'm not going to mention some things. However, I will remind a lot of people who watched Saturday Night Live back in the 70s and early 80s. Do you guys remember Dana Garvey? And he did the church lady who spoke out against who?
Satan.
And then at Christmas time, Dana Garvey's character went on to talk about the similarities between Santa, even his name, one letter moves and Santa becomes Satan. The letter N moves, and a lot of other characteristics. And it was all said in good humor and good fun. But in future shows, Iris and I are going to do more reveals based on television and based on movies, and that might end up being one of them. But as our audience wishes, feel free to go enjoy some of the reruns of that from Dana Garvey doing the church lady and see what she has to say about Santa. And those of you that are into conspiracy theory, you're going to get a kick out of this in another way.
Yeah. And and just to in case anybody's wondering, a reveal, there is and try not to delve too much because I don't want to take up too much time on it. But a reveal is when the general population is shown things
in a limited way.
In a limited way that is real. But they go, oh, isn't that interesting? Or, oh, yeah. And it just kind of goes over people's heads. But it's sort of a requirement in
cosmic law.
In cosmic law to tell us what's going on. And if you're paying attention, you pick up these reveals in movies and in television. And so we are going to do a couple of shows. We'll probably do at least one in January. And
depends on what happens between here and there.
Yeah. And then I wanted to mention we've got December 23rd is next week's show. And we're going to talk about God. We did Jesus today. We're going to talk about God. Yeah, and basically, the tagline for it is belief in a power greater than ourselves doesn't mean that we have to lock it away or be distant from it. And that's kind of what we're going to explore.
Separatism of those theories are not necessary.
Yeah. And so that's going to be our show for next week. I'm already working on January's, but and Margaret, I'm going to take a leap of faith here because I hadn't really talked to you about this, and you can nix it if you want. But I thought for December 30th, since it's a new year, let's talk about manifesting. Yay.
Yes, absolutely. Your ideas for this have been sparkling the whole way. Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to also give a quick shout out. We've got Courtney Hudson, also known as Courtney Shaw before she got married.
Yes.
Is going to be a guest on our show in January and probably February too.
Yeah, she's coming January 13th.
Yay! And Courtney is a multi-talented, big-hearted, fun, beautiful lady, very wise, and a load of fun to talk to and hang out with. So We got another fun person coming in.
Yeah. So lots of good shows coming up. We hope you'll stick with us. Be sure to follow us. I apologize that we had the glitch and didn't show up on Facebook, but I'll post the video on Facebook later. We follow us on Facebook, YouTube, like, follow, and subscribe, whatever. And we're also on Spotify and
iTunes.
Yeah, like second. And yeah, we want to get the word out. Share, tell other people. If you enjoyed this show, let people know about it and share the link, please. And I think we've got some interesting stuff coming up. So join us next week for the God talk.
We're going to have some conversations about God.
Yes, maybe with God.
God wants to join in. He certainly can. Everyone's welcome.
All right. So thank y'all so much for being here. We appreciate it. Love seeing our returning friends and making new friends, and greatly appreciate everybody being here. Have a good week, and we'll see you next
Have
week.
a beautiful holiday, guys. Night, night. Namaste. Namaste.
And do this.